Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. It's Q&A day, and this is episode 1409, 1409. It's exciting. I'm here live for Chant Camp with a big crew. Say Harry Bowl, everybody. I don't think anybody can hear you because we have these special mics, so only pick it up if you, but a bunch of people just said Harry Bowl real loud if you're listening to this. But we've got about, 30 or 40 people showing up today. And then Kirtan tonight. So we are all in Kirtan consciousness. They were doing Kirtan when I went to bed last. And I looked out the window. Mara's already asleep. Looked out the window. They're still going Harry Bowl out in the yoga studio. Woke up. I was like, no one's going to be awake this morning. They were all up before 6 o'clock for morning kirtan and yoga. Yep, everybody's here. So a lot of the famous Zoomers are here. We got Lori and the Chief. We got Clifford Dean. The mysterious Clifford Dean is here. We got fire eating Kimmy Carroll. All of our heroes from Zoom are here. And today's Q&A day. If you're new to the show, welcome. We do this Srimad Bhagavatam study all week. On the weekends, we do interview day. Great interview tomorrow with Keshava Swami and Kaustubha. And today we do questions from our live group. Mara, any announcements?
Yeah. Tomorrow we've got Keshava Swami Maharaj on for our interview day at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. And then also we're hosting our second annual spiritual retreat in the sacred city of Mayapur.
Woo!
End of January. It's the birthplace of ecstatic kirtan, so this retreat can't be missed. Some of the highlights include excursions to powerful holy places, including Lord Chaitanya's birthplace and Srivas Thakur's house, Jagannath Mandir, and Ganga sunset boat rides.
Sunset boat rides, right? There's nothing better than chanting on the Ganga, right, Kaustubh?
It's absolutely beautiful, and the sun's going down. You're floating on the Ganga. You're looking at Bhakti-yoga Thakur's home, or on, it's. We had a beautiful time that last time we did it.
Yeah, it's one of these things that you hold in your heart forever.
And cherish it.
You cherish it in your heart forever. And I find like when I'm in the West doing my thing here, my heart goes back to those places, and it holds me.
Your tender little thumper.
It holds me like a mother holding a baby.
I know how to get Ragnar to crack up anytime. Just say thumper.
Thumper gets him every time.
All right. Any other interesting news, Mara? Mara is cooking this weekend, and
Bobby's coming to cook.
And Bobby's cooking too.
Yeah.
Hitting it out of the park, Mara. You're hitting it out of the park. We went with burritos last night.
Oh, that's always a winner.
I'm ready to convince her to open a burrito shop.
That would be great. Maybe one of those trucks.
A burrito truck.
We'll see. I should mention that we do still have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings happening every day, daily, and you can go to bhaktirecoverygroup.com or wisdomofthesages.com to see that online meeting list.
Yeah. Imagine if Mara had like in New York City, it was like Mara's burrito truck.
Mara's burrito truck. You can do that.
I bet it would become the #1 burrito truck in New York.
Yeah.
There's probably stiff competition in the city.
I don't know. I haven't seen any other burrito
You're like
trucks.
Olympic level burritos.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You suffer from some
Gold medal.
self-doubt. I can help you.
Let's talk about this, Mara. Where does it stem from?
I think there's some other questions that people have for the podcast today.
I mean,
this is such an intriguing
how do you deal
one.
with self-doubt if you were the captain of the girls' field hockey team?
Even sometimes these high achievers have self-doubt.
I think it's true. Okay, let's get to our cues, and we'll try to give some A's.
Let's.
As quickly as possible.
First up, for our first question, we've got Catherine A.
Catherine A.
Hey.
We love her. She's part of the family. Come on down, Catherine A. Straight from Beantown, Boston.
Oh,
You
yeah.
might have seen her on Zoom, cold plunging with her iPhone in her hand, walking into the Atlantic Ocean in winter.
Also, handstanding.
Handstanding sometimes. Also, you know what she does with her cold plunges? She sits and chants a round of japa in like 40-degree water.
How
Right,
fast do you chant that round?
And she looks at me and she goes, Krishna's in the cold. And I was like,
Oh.
is that in the Bhagavad Gita? Did she
It's
just
her-
make that up, or is that in the Gita and I missed that
It's her own
shloka?
realization.
It's your own.
She connects, because maybe it's something like when you're in that cold, your body is rebelling, and you're feeling a distance from your own body, and you're taking shelter of the Paramatma in your heart. Is it something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah, you can no longer be on a sensual mental platform. It's just got to be, I do. This is it. I'm in here with you, Krishna. Krishna's keeping her warm, putting a little chutter around her.
Okay.
Hmm.
Do you have a special warming garment that you put on when you come out of the cold thing, like some kind of robe or thick thing or something?
No, I'm pretty warm when I come out.
Look at that.
I
She's
feel,
a natural.
Yeah, you feel great.
That's what happens.
Okay.
You get
Now-
like an extra heat when you come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Catherine's going to have to be closer to the mic. Maybe she needs to hold it.
Yeah, there you go. I just
Right up
told her
there.
right before the thing, and she's still got.
Because it's not close enough to them. I think
Get it
the
right
chair
up.
needs to be closer or something.
Okay, Catherine, what's your question today? How can we serve you?
Humble obeisances to all the devotees. My question is, what is the significance of Sampradaya? And kind of a three-part question.
Three-part.
Why don't we pass the guru bead when we chant?
That's a whole
Oh, yeah.
different question. It's another question, but okay.
Oh, okay. And then what's like the correct way to pay obeisances for the deities? Like, do you do it on the left side? Because I've heard because it's close to your heart, but then I've also heard that's like the Sampradaya way to bow. Yeah. But basically the Sampradaya. What's the significance?
Okay, let's talk about our spiritual lineage.
You want to start with the Sampradaya question?
Yeah, why don't you jump on this one, Kostub?
Okay, so Sampradaya, literally the word samprada, it has to do with like giving very freely, giving very liberally, or handing down as well. And so the idea is that if you took all of the books, even if you just took all the books that Srila Vyasadeva wrote, who is the Shaktavesha avatar, right? He's the person that was directly empowered by Sri Krishna to present the Veda, this eternal knowledge in written form for the people of this age. Even if you just took all his books, which is a large body of books, right? You got the 4 Vedas, you got the Upanishads, that's 108 books right there. You got the Mahabharata, which 100,000 verses. And then you got all the Puranas. Altogether, I think it's like 520,000 verses. So that's like a lot of information.
It's got to be more than that.
No, I think that's what it is.
Really? Okay.
It's gotta be.
Okay. I'll back off.
I mean, there's always different ways to count, right? Because like that's in our age, in our planet, and everything. Like the
Right,
Mahabharata is so many
They say
more
there's
verses.
Mahabharats from other planets
Yeah,
that are like hundreds of thousands of verses.
yeah, or even millions or something like that. Yeah. So in any case,
Imagine when they the first moon landing went to the moon. They're like, "Did you find anything? We found some rocks, some dust. We did find a very big Mahabharata,
a 2 million verse Mahabharata,
and that's
you're gonna
about
love
it, pretty much. Just rocks, dust, and a giant Mahabharata."
And everyone in India starts going crazy. This is awesome.
Told you.
Bring it on.
Okay, go on.
So if you take all of that information, hardly anybody's going to read the entire thing. And how are you going to get like a practical understanding and application of it all? You need schools of thought. You need schools that are going to teach it in a particular way. And those schools are going to have a particular goal that in other words, they're going to identify, here's what this is all meant to lead to. And here's how you can understand all this knowledge and practice it to achieve that goal. And that's what these lineages or sampradayas do. there's four Vaishnava Sampradayas, four Sampradayas that have established that devotion to Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna is the goal, is the siddhanta, is the conclusion of all these texts, is that one's meant to connect with Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna through devotion. And traditionally it's taught that even within these texts, it's taught that those lineages go back to Lord Vishnu or to Lord Krishna himself, and they come down through four different important lineage founders are established. There's Lord Brahma, there's Lakshmi Devi, there's the four Kumars, they count as one, and there's Shiva. And so then these four lineages come down throughout the ages, and in the Kali Yuga, certain great teachers or acharyas have kind of codified and brought forth those teachings more elaborately, and those would be Ramanujacharya in the Sri Sampradaya, Madhvacharya in the Brahma Sampradaya, Vishnu Swami in the Shiva Sampradaya or Rudra Sampradaya, and Nimbarkacharya in the Kumara Sampradaya. These lineages are each one is kind of like a tree, because they branch out, like one
like a family tree.
Yeah, like family trees. So there's like the trunk of the tree or the root of the tree, and then they branch out in different paramparas, different chains of gurus and disciples. The idea here is that there's great care in handing down the knowledge and preserving that knowledge in an authentic way. Otherwise, even if you accept all these texts as truth, how to make sense of them and how to practice them is going to be very elusive. It's going to be very difficult to figure that out on one's own. Now, I wanted to mention something because in last week's interview with Professor Edmund Bryan, who's a person I have great respect for, a very learned person, and I love his books and so on. But Raghunath asked him a question about a verse that speaks to exactly what you're bringing up here, Catherine, and that is a verse from the Padma Purana, which states, Sampradaya vihinaye mantras te nishpala mataha. It says that mantras that are not received in one of these genuine sampradayas, that they bear no fruit. Okay, which is a very interesting statement. But that verse, I'm not sure if you were aware, Raghunath, but that verse speaks to these four sampradayas, like direct. That's where they're laid out. It says, I'll read the translation of the entire verse. Any mantra that does not come in disciplic succession in a sampradaya is considered to be fruitless. Therefore, four divine individuals will appear in the age of Kali to found disciplic schools. The founders of these four Vaishnava Sampradayas are Lakshmi, or Shri, Rudra, Brahma, and Sanaka Rishi, the Sanaka Kumar. And the acharyas of the Kali age who follow in their lines will appear in the holy city of Purushottama in Orissa. That's Jagannath Puri. Now, when Professor Bryan spoke about it, he said, well, this is just one verse. This is, amongst so many verses, I guess in a sense, minimizing its significance. My response to that would be, yes, but our great acharyas have chosen this verse out of so many thousands and highlighted it. That shows its significance, right? That's
You're disagreeing with what he said, or
let me put it this way: the way that he characterized it, I would not characterize it.
Okay.
He was careful, and he said, I don't want to dismiss it, but he also characterized it as a political thing. He said it kind of felt to him like it was a political or bureaucratic kind of statement. In other words, that you need to be in our lineage if you're going to benefit from this mantra.
And my point to it was, okay, I could understand how it could be used that way, but the idea of the parampara, it comes with the mantra comes with a purport, the significance and the meaning of it while you're
Yes.
so you have some intention while you're chanting. I've always understood it's the intention and the as well as the attention to the mantra that has its significance.
Well, I agree entirely with that, Raghunath. You know, like there's a famous verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bahu Janma Karyari Shravana Kirtana Tabu Tana Paya Krishna Pade Premadana, that one can go on chanting this holy name for lifetimes and never achieve the goal of Krishna Prema if it's done without the right mood, without the right understanding.
Mm.
And that's what comes in Sampradaya, right? So Professor Brian was saying, I don't see Krishna as a bureaucrat who's like, oh, you must come in a particular lineage in order for me to accept you. I don't interpret the verse as communicating that. What I hear communicated through this verse is that very mercifully, devotion is handed down through these channels. And if you want to achieve, and anyone can benefit from chanting the name, but if you want to achieve the fruit of chanting the holy name, and what is that fruit? It's Krishna Prema, right? Love for Krishna. If you want to achieve that highest of all goals, that most precious and rare of all goals, you don't achieve it just on your own by picking up a mantra and walking around chanting it. You learn, and Professor Bryant, he said, you know, well, the theology of the holy name is not such a complicated thing. It's not different from Krishna. Well, that's something that he learned through Sampradaya, right? And that's something that's taught through Sampradaya. And honestly, Nama Tattva, the subject of the holy name, is an incredibly rich topic that our acharyas write thick books on so that we can really approach that name with a deep and pure understanding so that we can eventually chant that name purely. You know, it's mentioned that there are 10 offenses to the holy name. And in our lineage, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage, it's very common that the guru will speak on these 10 offenses at the time of initiation, because the essence of the relationship between the guru and disciple in Sampradaya is that the guru is training the disciple to chant that name purely because that name is going to reveal everything to them. And so within those 10 offenses, it's being instructed how we're meant to understand our relationship with Vaishnavas, that's important for us to receive the fruit of the holy name. How we relate with the name itself, how we relate with the guru, how we relate with the Shastra, what are our sentiments and understanding of these very important tattvas, these very important truths within this broad practice, for the fruit of, for Krishna Prema, that fruit, that ultimate fruit, to be achieved, one is meant to be trained in this way. It's not saying, oh, you have to be part of our clique, but it's something like saying, let's say I wanted to become a Supreme Court justice, and someone said, oh, but really, that's your ambition? Well, that's wonderful. You know, are you applying to different universities? I mean, to become a Supreme Court justice, you probably have to go to Yale or Stanford or Columbia University or one of these very top law schools. No, I'm just going to read the books myself. You know, no. And it's not a sectarian or bureaucratic consideration. Is that no, that you're meant to be trained by the best legal minds that exist if you're going to achieve that goal of becoming a Supreme Court justice. And similarly, if you want to achieve the goal of Krishna Prema, you need to be trained in the Sampradaya in order to understand the nature of the practice of Bhakti-yoga, the nature of the holy name, to develop the right knowledge about it and the right sentiments about it, and to develop the right practice and the right lifestyle in order to fully receive the benefit of that name and the fruit of that name. So I don't see that verse as a sectarian bureaucratic statement.
sure
I see it as
could be used that way.
it could anything can be
You
misused,
know.
sure, but I see it as and the fact, okay, granted, it's one verse amongst hundreds of thousands, but the fact that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and our Srila Prabhupada quoted this verse many times, it indicates its significance amongst those thousands of verses or hundreds of thousands of verses. So the Sampradaya is how knowledge is preserved, how we understand how to practice, it is mercy. It is the professor was saying, I feel it's not so much about this bureaucratic consideration, but it has to do with surrender. Yeah, this is our process for surrender. This is how we surrender. We surrender through the Sampradaya. Baladev Vidyabhushana, one of the great teachers in our Sampradaya, he characterized it this way in his book called the Prameya Ratnavali. He said, the learned disciple should daily remember the entire flawless disciplic succession. Should be thinking about all these teachers are handing this down to me. From them comes single-minded devotion. And from such devotion, the pleasure of Lord Krishna comes. And so that's the idea that certainly anyone can benefit from chanting this name, but that fruit of Krishna prema, that blessing of Srimati Radharani, that grants one that prema, that is something that it doesn't just come about easily or just by chance or just because I'm sincere. If you're sincere, then Krishna can lead you to a genuine lineage that will train you specifically in how to practice bhakti in the way that's most pleasing to Krishna and through which you'll be blessed by that highest of all aspirations, that Krishna prema.
That was so good. It was so thorough, but I'm going to bring this right back to earth.
Okay.
Okay. And it starts with these two words.
Earth to Kastuba.
It starts with these two words. Repeat after me. Kimbo Slice. You know who
Excuse
Kimbo
me?
Slice is?
I have no
Kimbo
idea.
Slice. Who knows who Kimbo Slice is? Okay. Kimbo Slice. Crazy street fighter. Crazy street fighter.
Kimbo Slice.
And he was
yes.
doing all these like bootleg videos of him like just fighting people in backyards. And then people like started picking up his videos, started going viral. So somehow he ended up going into mixed martial arts and getting on like UFC and things like that. And everybody really wanted to see what would this guy do with a, in mixed martial arts. So first of all, he had to dip his hands into official training. He had to go to some official teachers. Street fighters are pretty crazy because they're so darn crazy that they can actually be really good fighters. But eventually,
when you get to a certain
tradition
level
of fighting, after a while, you really got to, there is a way to throw a punch. There's a way to throw a kick. There's a way to throw an elbow. There's a way to headbutt. It's all been passed down. You can even embellish it in the same way sort of Picasso was classically trained, but then embellished.
Mm-hmm.
But they come through those lineages and those traditions. And because of that, they get some power. And eventually Kimbo Slice, he would get beat by these people who have been trained. Sometimes you can surprise a guy, even a trained guy, and get stuff. But if you really want to become the best at your game, you'll take these high-level people who've been practicing in tradition and you refine your practice to get to the ultimate goal, champion of the UFC heavyweight, Krishna Prema.
There you go.
That's what it is.
There you go.
Kimbo Slice, people.
That's his name, Kimbo Slice.
Kimbo Slice. You never heard it? Google, YouTube him. YouTube search him. You'll have a field day.
Okay. Does that cover it well for you, Catherine?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Which part of it? The chanting in parampara or the Kimbo Slice? Which?
Both. You guys get the best of both worlds.
It's not a competition, Raghunath.
Not a competition. I'm sad to say that's the last visual my head hit the pillow with because as I was going to bed, I checked my phone and it's a Kimbo Slice video came up.
Well, perhaps there was a purpose for it, Raghunath. Now
there was. Now I understand the purpose. That was the last image I saw. Kimbo getting beat in the UFC, And now I understand Krishna's behind everything.
Where's he from, Kimbo Slice?
Who knows?
But the name Kimbo is very
Chicago
unusual.
suburbs.
Even the name Slice, they're both very unusual.
Kimbo Slice. You're gonna have a field day. Miami, Jimmy James says. Okay.
But there are more questions you had, right?
More questions. Thanks,
Thank
Catherine
you.
A. Harry Ball.
No. Hold it.
Some love, people.
She had more questions
Oh,
about the chanting on the beads.
Maybe I can do that another time.
okay.
If you want to give other people time.
Okay.
Or up to you guys.
Love you,
We'll come
Catherine.
back to it if we need to fill some filler at the end of the show.
Who else we got Who else we got?
Thank
here?
you, Catherine. I love seeing Catherine.
Marina.
Catherine's good devotee. Good devotee.
Marina, we love Catherine. Marina from Canada, come on down.
Here comes Marina.
Sorry, you get stuck with me. Marina's
Hello,
here
Marina.
with her really nice son, Mitch. And they've been here before. It's great to have you back here.
Yeah.
Very sincere. They're both writers. She said, I read your book. Would you like me to comment on it?
You're like, no.
I was like, depends. I'm got a real soft shell.
Well, I want to hear, how did you like Raghu's book?
I think that it achieved the goal of
Krishna.
being able to inspire people to look at themselves and the world differently and reach toward Krishna a bit more.
Excellent.
All right.
You achieved the goal, Raghunath. Was that your goal?
My goal is Krishna Prema and to beat Kimbo Slice.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Okay,
What's your
Marina.
question, Marina?
What are your questions?
It's more amusing and to ask your thoughts on the fact that, consumerism and materialism are almost becoming more powerful, having more of an influence and a draw. And so my question is, do you see the spiritual life, the bhakti life, having an impact on that? Or does the other one still have a more powerful draw? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, consumerism is big. It's so. I was saying this morning in class, when we lived as brahmacharis in the ashram, I had 2 shirts and 2 dhotis, and there was nothing else to buy. And there was almost a sadness that there's nothing to buy anymore because there's such a pleasure purchasing things. And I remember, like, when you've given up becoming a brahmachari and you make that transition to now I'll wear the white robes and I get to buy different colored kurtas, different color shirts. It was always like, I'm going to go in the temple gift shop and look at all the colorful shirts. I want a pink one. I want a light blue one. I want one that ties on the side. It's like the options have opened up for me. And then you want to decorate your apartment or your house. And I get a little Krishna picture here and a little, Indian looking thing here, a Southeast Asian chair or what would be a cool altar in my house. And that desire for consumption is so huge to fulfill sort of like a hole in the heart that and that's the beautiful thing about a monastic life is that gets stripped away. And in that sadness, you got to find God. And so that should sort of always be what we're going for. The problem with consumption is it never fills the belly. You're always hungry. It never ends. It's insatiable. So, and I think as cultures get more and more consumptious, they'll feel an emptiness that goes with that. And they'll probably explore other things to consume, like, okay, I can whatever people collect nowadays, clothing, watches, people consume all different types of things. Okay, I've consumed this. Now I'm going to switch and start consuming this. And oh, my friend is getting me into this. And people get into real nuanced type of collect things, and Pokemon cards, all types of crazy things. But the fact is, they won't fulfill. So instead of switching one consumption to another, a person who gets materially exhausted has now entered the threshold of their spiritual life. And let's sort of pray that we get materially exhausted, or otherwise, you know, me and I think me and the me and
Then where do they go?
well,
When they're exhausted?
hopefully they lean into spirit. Hopefully, because right now what we're doing is we are driving. Some of us are driving jalopies, and some of us are driving Lamborghinis. But either way, we have no GPS. We have no clue where to go, why we're going anywhere, what we're doing. So some of us are born with really, we got either got a career or we got a silver spoon in our mouth and we've just driving Lamborghinis around. And some of us are struggling. We never had anything. My parents were broke and we're driving jalopies around or we're driving a bicycle around. And either way, we're lost. And Krishna consciousness is actually giving direction. It's giving instructions on the way, how to refuel, how to maintain the vehicle, and it's fine tuning the explicit dropped pin. To continue with this analogy, drop pin of actually where to go, and it's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful because otherwise we waste time, and we waste resources, and we waste our life. Just bumping into walls. What do you think?
I think it's thin. I think that people are finding it hard to find that spiritual connection and where to go to get it.
Right.
I think it's just easier to keep filling landfill sites and with stuff we don't want, and then get more things that we want. And so I'm wondering if you see, because I'm feeling like it's thin, and there's not as many bhakti spiritual people that are creating that space. Do you see that it's do you see it differently? Do you see that there is that opportunity, and where do they find that opportunity?
Well, this is where you come in. This is where you come in because you're very creative and you're very thoughtful. You have to figure out ways that you can sort of spread out branches and extend yourself to other people who sort of get that. Because you'll hear people say this, like, I know this career I'm doing is sort of pointless, but I guess that's life. That's what we do in life. No, that's not what you do in life. That's what you do with an unthought, a life that's not contemplated. So it's our job is to find people that are sort of a little, it's our job. We reach out for people who are in pain and we give them some comfort. We give them some love. That's what devotees do. But then we find the people who are sort of like satisfied and we give them some uncomfort. We like shake them a little, wake them up a little. And that's what we do. We extend our hand in that way as well. But when they get to this point of questioning, what's this all about? Then we just sort of like, well, hear this. And so we always have to build bridges for people. And in our heart of hearts, we should fully realize that there is nothing of this world that will satisfy our heart. And we have to really be convinced of that. We have to really exhaust every type of option, every plan B, C, and D in my mind to make me satisfied in this world. Exhaust it all. Well, what if I just sell everything and move to the Caribbean? What about that? Exhaust that. Okay. What about if I live in a tree fort? Exhaust it. Raw food, just move down there with Christopher in Costa Rica. Exhaust it. Unless you're connected to Krishna, to God, to your higher power, to your seva, there won't be fulfillment in this world because this world isn't our home.
So then people that are on the path have more of a responsibility.
Huge responsibility.
Having a bigger voice.
A huge responsibility.
Not just staying quiet in their own little cell. We have to be able to be there more.
If we're actually compassionate, yes. If we're not compassionate, we'll just keep this to ourselves. That's why they say that someone like our Param Guru, Srila Prabhupada, so much compassion. Self-realized being, sitting in Vrindavan. It's the goal of life. You can leave your body, go right back to Godhead. Or you can get on a boat with $8, take a cargo ship, come to New York, hang out with a bunch of, dirty hippies, you know what I mean, who don't even bathe. And you can cook them puris and gulab jamans and teach them the holy name and teach them kirtan and turn them into enlightened beings. Yeah, it takes a lot of compassion. It's a little bit of a harder path. But it's also for a lot of us who are actually not liberated souls, but that is sort of like the end game for us. That's what we want. You get that way by giving it as well. You get special blessings and you know, like the game Shoots and Ladders. You get some ladders by giving it away. It empowers you. It gives you you get some special mercy by giving it away as well. What do you think, Astub?
To quote an author,
Please do.
since we have a writer here, Margaret
Couple
Mead.
writers.
That's right. I was
writers.
talking about you, Raghunath, but you're right. Margaret Mead, who said, do you know what she said, Raghunath?
Tell everybody about Krishna consciousness before you die.
Do you know what she said, Marina?
I don't know specifically. I know
I'm
her.
sure she said a lot of things because she
said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And when it comes to bhakti and the time that we're in, I think we're living in a very exciting time in history. I wake up every morning feeling that, that yes, consumerism is a dark cloud, that's just like,
it can be a fun dark cloud, but yes,
but not for long. It doesn't deliver. And it's not just consumerism. There's, I suppose you could say, there's all that's tied to it. It may be if we say consumerism, essentially we could, if we wanted to give like a more like what is the fundamental principle behind consumerism, you'd say it's greed, probably,
and I think also it's ego as well.
Okay, Raghunath.
I was just thinking about it too. It is greed, but you can consume to have a type of refined thing. And like when you come over to my house and say, you see this refined thing? You say, oh yeah. I mean, who cares? It's a thing. But I feel like now I feel more special about my false identity because you appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The thing,
but,
not you.
The thing, not me. It's like
yeah. Let's work with the greed for just for a minute here, if you don't mind.
And I can help you out afterwards.
Okay. But that greed, that is the foundation of consumerism. It leads to so many other problems. It leads to an ecological crisis. It leads to war. It leads to, like the extreme political polarity that we have now, and social unrest, and all these things lead to political instability. And when the world starts to become unstable, that's when people are ready to change their minds about things or open up their minds to new ideas. When the world starts to be, when they're stable, when the world is stable, and we think, well, I got what I need, and everything is okay. Let me just try to enjoy this world. When that world gets turned upside down, and you're like, this world is not going to provide what I need. I need some foundation. I need something more meaningful. I need something that's solid. I've recognized that this world is a very it's a very delicate situation to be in. Padam padam yad vipadam natesham, right? That at every step in this world there's danger. When you're feeling that way, then you begin to search deeper into life. And so, although these things sadden us, these dark aspects of the world that we live in, I think we can also, as Bhakti yogis, say this is kind of the groundwork. This is kind of the background that will make a more mass acceptance of the principles of Bhakti yoga popular, or widespread. And I want to be clear that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone becomes like a Vaishnava with Vaishnava tilak on and everything like that. But, people turn to religion historically to try to find meaning, how to make, how to find the meaning of life in this as we live through our life in this world. And I think religion has let people down. And religion has been corrupted in so many ways. And the essence that is there in so many of the great world's religious traditions, it's not flowing powerfully through them so well, commonly. I think the tradition of bhakti, Krishna bhakti, as you know, coming out of India in a sense, has the power to wake people up to the essence of their own religions, to set aside the external concerns of their religion and really understand the essence of it. And through that, there can be a kind of unity. And you know, when there's enough, what do they call it, groundswell? You know, when there's enough groundswell, the world can change. So and one good thing about this consumerist society that we live in, this globalist society, and in this world of ridiculous media and everything, is that ideas can catch on quick and spread quick in this age. And it just takes a few authors, a few musicians, a few speakers, you know, a few public figures to really catch on to the essence of it and turn a lot of people onto it. So as the world gets darker, we should understand that at any moment it's more prone to get lit up again.
And you could even influencer, you could write something, or you could write something that influences one person, that influences another person, and that person could influence a maha influencer.
The ripple effect.
Yeah.
So we need to become Krishna champions or warriors.
Ooh, yeah.
There you go.
That's what we need to be now.
I'm with you. That's a great attitude. And a warrior, you know, they go into battle and they may play a small part, they may play a large part. One little soldier may play a huge role, or it may take a huge army to achieve a certain goal. But what we do is we do our part, whatever it may be.
We do our part in the army.
Yeah. And let's have faith that, you know, if you're just in India right now, in one sense, India is a mess. It's like, God, the pollution there is just like off the charts. It's like, you know, you're there and you're like, this has to change. You know, like this, something must be done, right? And of course, there's so many other challenges there. But it's also a place where Krishna Bhakti, and I want to be clear about this, it's always been there in India, but the real deep understanding of it, and not just like the kind of like the quote unquote religious kind of external tradition, that's always been there. But to really understand how dynamic Krishna Bhakti is, how dynamic it is in an individual's transformation, and how dynamic it is even on a social level, how powerful it can be, that is something that I would say, especially through Srila Prabhupada's teachings and Srila Prabhupada's grace, is something that right now is like, it's starting to take off in India. It's like, it's something that's very powerful. It's something that's catching on. And so there's, I think, a lot of hope. Oh, am I the one that froze, or did Raghunath freeze?
I froze.
Okay, so you missed everything that I just, my whole...
Don't worry, everybody else heard it. Everybody else heard it out there on podcast world land.
Just in a nutshell, in India, the tradition of bhakti has been there forever, but it may have been understood more on an external religious level. But by Prabhupada's books and his teachings, and it going into the colleges, the top universities in India, his teachings have been brought, and there's thousands and thousands of young, intelligent people coming out of the universities in India right now and going into high-level positions that really have a clear understanding of bhakti, not just what it can do for the individual, but its potential on the larger social or political level. And so I think there's a lot of hope for some dynamic shifts in the world, and that bhakti can play an important, or the important role in that.
Isn't that good news?
I really love how you said that, actually, because it is a dark time, and the way you put that positive spin on that and the effect that we can have, because it's true, people have moved away from religion, but they need that sense of something. So they go to politics or QAnon or something. So that if we can become those warriors to bring that other option, then that's really beautiful.
How
It's
about
always
warrior-
darkest before the dawn, they say, right?
How about warriors of love? Warriors of light.
Warriors of light.
Well,
Warriors of light.
Raghunath has been trying to start his own cult for a long time now, and I think he just found
We're
it.
the warriors of light, and I'm your guru. I can help you. Thank you very much, Marina.
Yeah.
Great to have you.
Marina.
Thank you both for being such warriors.
Oh,
Aw.
thank you.
Warrior of love. Thank you.
It's a love guru.
Woo. All right. We've
10
got
more minutes.
10 minutes left. We have any more questions? Who's next?
Ave Maria.
Ave Maria. Always here live on Zoom, and now directly from New Jersey, wearing her Timothy Tucker t-shirt,
nice. A sweatshirt.
Well, it's
Or is it a long sleeve
too.
t-shirt?
No, it's a long sleeve, and
I've
it's
got one of those too.
yeah,
Really
that's where I
nice.
first saw it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Hi, Ave Maria. Good to see you.
Right in the mic, Ave Maria.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Good morning, everyone. So my question is, so I've always heard for a long time not to point your feet at not to point your feet at the altar.
Yeah.
So, and I believe that really means not to flex your feet, so the bottoms of your feet don't point towards the altar. Is that correct?
The flats of your feet or your toes, like ballerina feet, or like walking feet.
Yeah. So, because like pointing your feet is your foot is like this, so your toes are on the floor towards.
Interesting.
Oh, that's not an issue, I don't think.
Yeah. So,
hey, before we get into this, Ave Maria, what's your story? How'd you get here? In brief, you don't have to give your whole bio, but
I'm not really sure.
How'd you get into Bhakti?
I've always had a spiritual feeling in me, and I've been looking for something. I've gone to lots of different churches and whatever, trying to find what feels right. And
How did you find me in Kostuba?
I'm not sure. I think it might have been Instagram, but I don't really know. I stumbled upon it somehow. I was cleaning my house one day. I listen to podcasts as I clean, and I started listening to you guys. And there was one thing, something about a wave and a surfer. It was like one of your first podcasts.
Oh wow!
And that just like
it was Radha Swami, I think.
It was, oh my gosh, this is so real. This is it. And then I just got hooked. I started listening to all of them. Then I got the Zoom link and started coming to the morning Zooms. And that's.
Now she's one of us.
Now she's one of us.
Yeah.
If you want to grab up this pointing the leg stuff towards the altar, it's not just India. A lot of Asian cultures too. To put out your legs, to touch somebody with your foot is like a real no-no. It's considered the low part of your body, the part that,
Well, this. We can maybe pull up Catherine's question at this point too. Her question was also like kind of a detailed question like this, right? Like when you're chanting japa on beads, there's 108 beads, and then there's one bead that's kind of like the central bead.
The Meru bead or the Guru
the keynote
bead
kind of thing. Yeah, she called it the Guru bead. Generally, I've heard it called like the Krishna bead or the Radha Krishna bead. Like if those 108 beads represent the 108 gopis, prominent gopis, then that last bead would represent Radha and Krishna, and the whole thing becomes like the rasa dance, like that. And so, for speaking to that question, these kind of questions, they may sound like insignificant details. In one sense, they are not principles or details, but there's a principle behind them that they're meant to serve. And that has to do, again, with our sentiments. We were talking about this when we were talking about the Sampradaya question, that when you get trained in a lineage, you get trained how to practice. And the practice has so much to do with cultivating the right sentiments that make you receptive to receiving the potency of the holy name. And so it's not the end of the world if you go over that bead, right? It's not like everything, the world is going to stop. But the idea is just that Well, imagine if Radha and Krishna were sitting at like the top of a circle, and everyone, and there were 108 gopis sitting in a circle in front of them, and you walked through the circle. When you got to the end, you wouldn't walk over Radha and Krishna. You'd turn around and then walk the other way. And come back. It's just kind of a way of respect, and you're always coming towards them, in a sense. You're not walking over them. It's a simple thing like that. And with the pointing of the feet, it's a similar thing as Raghunath's mentioning. It's less a thing. I remember hearing George Harrison mentioning when he first started getting trained in playing sitar by Ravi Shankar. And inadvertently or unmindfully, George stepped over his sitar, right? Now, he was immediately corrected by Ravi Shankar. You don't step over it like that. You don't. Is that going to affect how he plays it? Or in some sense, perhaps it does. In other words, not that act itself, but your sentiment towards the instrument is what's important, and how you cultivate that sentiment is how it plays out in the etiquette that you use. And so, as Raghunath was mentioning, not just in India, but I think all over I probably in the Middle East, I think, and as well as other parts of Asia, the feet are, you don't wear your shoes in the house. The feet are considered like low. Even when we bow down to the feet, it's kind of saying like, I show my respect even to the lowest part of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't point that part at, it's in the Western world, we don't go to shake hands with the left hand. If someone does that, it just feels, what? It's like, what are you trying to say here? Like I'm not important, or you're not taking me seriously. If you're like, oh yeah, you just put out that left hand. No, you put out the right hand. You do it with a little, with some respect. So the pointing of the feet is something like that. And I think, generally there's a lot of sitting on the floor in these cultures. And so if you straighten out your leg in the direction of the altar, that would be considered, in a sense, disrespectful, in a sense, not cultivating the sentiment that you would want to cultivate. Whether it's, again, it's not that if the toes, like if you're standing and your toes are going in that direction, that's not the thing. But if you were to point the leg and the foot in that direction, then that's what's we're asked not to do.
I love your answer. I love the George Harrison analogy with Ravi Shankar, that there's much more refined sentiments to be cultivated besides just playing music here. And the idea is like, first of all, we have descending information, and the mood we approach God and Guru, that affects what sort of descends, and it affects me as a receiver.
What we receive. Yeah, what we receive.
It affects me as a receiver. And I know that if you've ever tried to tell a teenager something like, hey, make sure Saturday night, people who get drunk on Saturday night, if you're driving home, be a little, yeah, I know. And if their answer is, I know, you can't tell them anything. So if
you're still giving the same message, but they're not receiving it.
They're not receiving. So in very cultured bhakti lineages, they give you a sentiment, a consciousness to cultivate so you can receive more. And that's what it is. It's creating us to be fine receivers. Sometimes I do with my teachers, or my students will come with me. They'll give me a hug, but it's more like a whack on the back. You know what I mean? When you whack somebody on the back, you don't whack your guru on the back like that. You know what I mean? You'd whack a friend on the back like that. Once you whack the guru on the back, it's going to be like your buddies. And buddies don't give instructions generally. They may give some unsolicited advice. But if, Radha Swami says, hey, please sit down, I will say, I want to sit on the floor. He'll say, please sit here. And I'll say, I prefer to sit on the floor if that's okay. Why? Because immediately it creates a mood to receive. Like, I'm not here to chat with you. He's like, well, we're friends. Well, no. You're being friendly. I should never consider you my friend.
You're my superior.
You're my superior. You're my teacher. It's out of my arrogance I'm considering you my friend. Krishna sent you to instruct me. and I'm seeing you as that. So I don't want to be your friends. I want to be your servants. If you want to be friendly to me, that's your choice. But I'm not going to see you like that. And we have to create a mind like that, because once we do, we cut off. There's even something that's really tangible. And I'll say it because, I see Bhakti Udi, who's assisting me in so many ways. He will just bow down whenever he sees me. I'm like, dude, come on. I can't keep going up and down like this. I'm getting old. Bowing down ain't easy. But he'll come in and he'll affectionately hug me and like tuck in like he's a little baby. And it makes me want to give to the guy. Yeah. It makes me want to give him everything I have. And because it's the mood he's cultivated. And I didn't ask for it, but that's just what he does.
He's amazing.
But if he was to just whack me on the back, stuff like that, I'd treat him like a buddy. But when a person comes and they really sort of have that mood of, what can I do for you? Then you just want to take care of the guy. You just want to take care of him. You want to nurture him. You want to instruct them. And you set up a really beautiful relationship between teacher and student. Okay, sure. Now she's going to, was that okay first?
Oh, yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to, because I have another question, so I know we're probably running late.
Oh, we're over time.
Yeah. Sorry. So my other question
this is probably really important.
Yeah, my other question is about the Tulsi beads. Like, what is the story behind that? What are the rules, regulations? Who can wear them? Who should wear them? How to wear them? All of that. Please, thank you.
Ragnar's looking at me.
Tulsi beads. It's a goddess. Tulsi's a goddess.
I've read so much about these, and people come up with different instructions that they've gotten from different places. And in one sense, again, they're details. Generally, I'm almost sure I could go find a quote that said anybody will benefit from wearing these beads, and go ahead and wear them. And then you'll find other more detailed instructions within particular lineages about how that lineage honors these particular beads, who wears 3 strands and who should wear less than 3 strands, and etc. I think it's become the what's the way to characterize it, but it's become the accepted norm within ISKCON that initiated devotees wear 3 or more strands, and if you're not initiated, you wear less than that. But I'm sure someone can pull out some, it says here in the Hari Bhakti Vilas this or that, or it's but the essential thing is there's one goddess in Vrindavan, Vrinda Devi. She's the goddess of Vrindavan. She's the goddess that provides the environment through which Radha and Krishna and the residents of Vrindavan enjoy the most beautiful, sacred pastimes. And she manifests in the form of the Tulsi tree, the Tulsi plant. In our lineage, this is a very celebrated aspect in our lineage, and so we understand that Tulsi, the leaves of Tulsi, are very dear to Krishna, and the beads from the Tulsi tree are therefore very sacred. And we wear them to honor her and to please him, and also like as a, I suppose you could say as a symbol that we are Krishna's servant. That I wear these neck beads, it identifies me as Krishna's servant. So anyone that wants to identify with Krishna's servant can do that. And if someone else is wearing them and they don't fully identify that way, they will also benefit from it.
So one more detail though. So people always seem to wear them right at the base of the neck. Is it okay to also just wear like one long?
They can be worn longer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go outfit you after the podcast. I'll be your stylist. Bhakti stylist, part-time botanist, and what was I today? Writer,
author.
Kimbo Slicer. Thanks everybody for joining us. Q&A day was good today. Live. Harry Bowl, everybody. Okay, tomorrow Kostuba and Keshava Swami. Very excited, but I'm not going to be here because I'm with the retreat. Okay. But good luck, students. So it should be good.
Thank you.
Excited for that. And then we're back on. Are we back on Monday? Yes, we are back Monday, 7 a.m. Thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to breakfast now, so we're going to cut out. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Look at all these livers. Woo!
Ah.
Some of your favorites are here, Stu.
But I don't see
Happy
Danya and
Jack.
Bali
Danya and Bali.
taking care of the kids. Oh, Happy Jack is back there. Is it Happy Jack?
Thanks, everybody. Beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let the magic